So let me start off by saying, working in a psychiatric hospital is no picnic. I'm a registered nurse, and I love my job. You deal with individuals on their worst day of their lives. You also get to see them get better and walk out a new person. That is the best feeling in the world. Anyway, let me get to my story. I will not mention names for privacy reasons. You know, HIPAA and all that jazz. I also won't disclose for which hospital I work for. So it started off as any ordinary day until around 9 a.m. I'm standing on the day hall speaking to a patient when all of a sudden I hear one of my employees yell, "Oh shit! No, 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 no! He got off the unit and he's heading for the front doors!" As I'm running off the unit and down the main hallway, I see the patient and he is running as fast as he can to the front of the building. He literally jumps up into the air and basically drop kicks both doors open and runs outside. I'm the first person out of the building after this patient. He's sprinting down the street, and I know he's going to run out of speed soon, because face it, no one can keep up the speed that he's running at, and this man was not in the best of shape. Eventually he stops and is standing there breathing heavy and basically almost doubled over because he's so out of breath. So here I am, this 5'3", 120-pound girl, telling this 6'3", 190-pound man that he needs to cooperate with us and come back to the unit. I inform him that he is not able to just leave when he wants to, because he's court-ordered by a judge to be at the hospital. Of course, I get the lovely reply that I almost always get when I tell patients that they can't just leave, which is, "Fuck you, bitch." Little side note, this man's crime was not a little trespassing charge. It was a violent offense. So it was probably not the brightest idea for me being the only person standing there with him at the time, but hey, you gotta do what you need to do in situations like this. Anyways, by this time, I've gotten more staff and the hospital police are on their way, so I don't feel unsafe. Once he sees the police car pull up to where we were, he finally realized it's over and we will be returning to the unit. The police handcuff him and put him in the back of the car and drive him back to the building. Once we get back to the unit, the patient becomes extremely aggressive, violent, threatening, and attempting to assault staff and police. We made the decision to place him in 4-point restraints for his, ours, and the other patients on the unit's safety. As we are trying to get him into restraints, he is fighting us the entire time. All of a sudden, I see the patient spit something out from his mouth. I'm thinking in my head, what the hell was that? All of a sudden, the staff member who was helping me restrain the patient's left side holds up his hand and blood is dripping down it. That's when I come to the horrible realization that this patient just spit out part of that man's finger. I get him out of the restraint room and into the nurse's station. I administer first aid while everyone else is finishing up what they were doing. Once I get him stable and get him out on his way to the hospital, I go back into the restraint room to speak with the patient. By law, we are required to inform the patient what he needs to do in order for him to come out of 4-point restraints. I inform him that in order for him to be released from 4-point restraints, he cannot physically assault anyone. I ask him if he's able to do that, and he looks at me and says, that was delicious. Can I have some more? It's been so long since I've had that. Needless to say, he wasn't ready to come out of restraints. So I had this patient, and she was a diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic. Every evening, she would come to me and say, "There's a cow outside my bedroom window." And every night, I would always reassure her that there was no cow outside her window, because whenever we'd go to look, there was no damn cow. One evening, she came to me and was really upset and crying and said, "I swear, there's a cow outside my window, and I'm not going into my room until you look." She was visibly upset, so I went down to her room and looked out the window. When I looked out the window, all I could see was this big damn cow. She looked at me and said, "See, I told you there was a cow outside my window. I'm not fucking crazy." All I could do was laugh, because of course, the one damn time I look out the window, there's a damn cow. The worst thing I've actually encountered in terms of creepy was a little developing psychopath. He had a history, fire, animals, sex, and was apparently high in the CU traits. He was about 11 when I first met him, so no one was going to call him ASPD, antisocial personality disorder, or anything like that. But that's what he looked like he was growing into. Anyway, the kid is incredibly funny, smart, and charming. No one can believe what his previous school and doctors were saying about him. I was new there, so I was taken in as well. Then one day, he gets in trouble for stealing, and we had proof on the camera, but he didn't know that. I'm sitting in as a witness/security while he's going through this whole series of emotions: surprise, indignation, fear, anger, etc., as he pretends he has no idea why he's being accused. Then we show him the tape, and he just stops dead, blank expression, and says something to the effect of, "So what? You were just wasting my fucking time?" It was another voice, a completely different personality coming out of this kid, like he just flipped a switch. I've seen some creepy shit, but that moment was creepy as hell. Not a doctor or anything, but there was a girl in my neighborhood when I was a teenager who was seriously fucked in the head. This little girl was probably only about 10 or 11 years old, and she was absolutely goddamn terrifying. I don't mean to be mean, since I'm sure she had a legitimate mental disorder, but holy fuck was she terrifying. She would often wander around the neighborhood alone. I have no idea what her parents were doing and why they would let such an obviously unstable child just walk around. She did a number of severely creepy things, including, but not limited to, she sat on the ground sometimes, staring at walls, talking and laughing to herself. She would say random things out of the blue to you, even if you weren't talking to her. Sometimes they would be innocent things like, "Okay, let's do that." But sometimes she would say strange, nonsensical things like, Why? Owl, tree, green, run." This wasn't something she actually said, but just an example of the randomness. But she would say it as though she was talking directly to you, like it was a completely normal conversation. I'd heard her have an actual conversation, so I don't think she was just rambling in random nonsense because she didn't know how to form a sentence or something. She would randomly stomp at the ground, or even smack it with her hands. She would touch things, like run her hand up and down a wall for minutes on end, like as if there was something special about the wall. She did this with the ground, trees, objects, all sorts of stuff. She always had this really creepy, happy demeanor. She was always smiling and giggling for no good reason. Even when she would stomp and stuff, she just looked like she was having such a fantastic time. I haven't even gotten to the worst parts yet. You know, like the time she killed a fucking squirrel with a baseball bat and tried to give it to one of my neighbors, calling it a present? Or the time she grabbed a butterfly and crushed it with her hands? Or even she pushed my little brother into an ant pile for absolutely no reason. Literally, she was just standing there. He walked past her and she just grabbed him and threw him into the anthill, laughing as she did. And what was the last straw? She actually tried to kill one of our neighbors. No, really, she somehow got a hold of a sharp knife, knocked on the old woman's door, and tried to fucking stab her. Luckily, the old woman reacted quickly and managed to wrestle the knife away from her and called the police. I'm not sure what exactly happened to her after that, but I know within a few days, her and her parents moved out. I was a psych tech, working the night shift for years, and I have some pretty freaky stories. There was a guy who couldn't have a window in his room because he would howl at the moon every night and tear up his room. When I was administrating meds one night, I went to enter a patient's room, but they weren't there. I called security and we searched the floor and didn't find him. I went back into his room and the patient was just sitting on his bed, just smiling. After I came back to the room from getting the medication again, the patient had disappeared a second time. Again, I called security and we did a top-down search of the room. No one was there. Security left to do a building search, and I went to set the meds on the nightstand, and this damn hand flew out and grabbed me from between the mattress and the bed frame, scratched the shit out of me. I never forgot that one. The last one was when I was monitoring the room, reading something, and heard a noise. I set the book down and looked down the hall. Nothing was there. I went back to reading, and a few seconds later I heard it again. I stood up and looked down the hall. There was nothing there. The third time I heard it, I lowered my book and looked up and probably had a damn heart attack. A patient was standing probably 5 feet away from me, looking like something out of The Exorcist and just staring daggers at me.
Thank you for watching. I always appreciate the support you show me and I'm forever grateful for it. Hope everyone had a wonderful day. All my social media information is in the description box below. All the story, music, and image information is below as well. And don't forget, I'll see you when the lights go.